you have that mindset where you believe in yourself and you believe in your capabilities, even when you're backed into a corner, you will always come out fighting. And just because you cannot physically see your mind doesn't mean that you should not train it.
Hello and welcome to another breakthrough episode of Your Mind in Sport. My name is Gary Lavery, certified trainer of NLP, sports mindset coach and sports psychologist. And from me to you, I hope this episode reaches you feeling great and ready to open up your mind and grab some new ways of thinking. So lend me your ears because you'll be hearing me talk about the emotional fuel, which helps sports performers, coaches and managers springboard forward on the journey of how to build a winning mindset. And you'll take a look at your own mental pictures as you let your imagination run wild about all those important memories and decisions you have made and captured in your life to date. So fasten your seatbelt and let's move forward, shall we? So why should you listen to this episode of Your Mind in Sport? Well, are you at crossroads with your current thinking, trying to avoid the pain of another low performance? Or have you installed a mind virus from the past within your collection of positive memories, which is currently impacting how you think now about the future? Or would you be interested in building up a solid level of self-confidence and belief within your performance, just like before? Well, if you've answered yes to one or more of those three questions, then you're absolutely in the right place right now. Now, from a big picture perspective, sport will throw up days of disappointment when nothing goes right, and days of achievement where everything you do just hits the spot and creates great memories and magic moments that really does build that self-belief and self-confidence of you performing at your level of sport. Now let's think about professional sport and zoom in on some of the memories we have seen unfold in front of our eyes, either on television or in the audience. Can you recall West Indian cricketer Carlos Brathwaite hitting Ben Stokes for 4 consecutive sixes in the last over to help the West Indies win their second T20 World Cup title? Or England defender Gareth Southgate having his penalty kick saved by the German goalkeeper in the penalty shootout of the Euro 96 against Germany? Or maybe you can remember the 22nd of November 2003 when England won the Rugby World Cup against Australia in Australia, thanks to that Johnny Wilkinson drop goal just 26 seconds before the end of play. Or maybe you are a tennis fan and can remember Andy Murray in 2013 beating Novak Djokovic at Wimbledon, which ended a 77-year wait for a British man to win at Wimbledon. Or would it be Michael Phelps in the Olympics in 2016 in Rio de Janeiro, winning his 23rd and final gold medal? Or would it be Dennis Taylor's unbelievable comeback to beat Steve Davis in the 1985 World Snooker Championships? Or maybe from the world of golf, Tiger Woods in 2019 in Augusta, winning the Masters for the first time since 2008. And with that win, he overcome injury, multiple surgeries, and lots of controversy in his private life. Now, they are just a few examples of memories in sport. And the thing is with memories, there's always going to be a winner, but there's also going to be a loser, whether it's an individual or a team. And it could be that one experience that puts a dark cloud over all those bright, positive memories of days gone by. Now, I believe everything happens for a reason. And I'm just going to take the example of Carlos Brathwaite hitting Ben Stokes back over his head for 4 consecutive sixes. Did that moment define Ben Stokes? In other words, did it put him back in his career and did he stay there? Or did it put him back in his career, which made him mentally stronger going forward? And I'll let you be the judge of that one. But realistically, we're not all Ben Stokes. And maybe some of the negative experiences you've had within your sport did actually knock you back regarding self-confidence and self-belief. And maybe you actually still back there, just waiting for that little bit of a push to move forward so that you could move out of your comfort zone into that learning zone and recreate that negative memory from which you installed in the past. So what do we mean by memories? I'm just going to take a definition from the book Timeline Therapy by Tad James. And in the book it says, memories deeply affect a person's perceptions and personality. They are who we are. In fact, some psychologists believe that as we get older, our reactions in the present are reactions to gestalts. In other words, a gestalt is a collection of memories that are organised in a certain way around a certain subject of past memories, and that the present plays very little part in our behaviour. So from that definition, there are a few words that kind of jump out. Perceptions, personality, collection of memories, and past behaviour. So just to give you one specific example, from the book Get the Life You Want by Dr. Richard Bandler, who was one of the co-creators of NLP, he says that one of the things that I discovered in my work is that people acquire problems very quickly. It only takes one close call in an aeroplane for somebody to get an aeroplane phobia, or after one bad accident in a car for somebody to get a phobia of driving. Bandler also added that if people can learn to have fear in a short period of time, there's no reasons why it should take a long period of time to accept they learned how to do that phobia, and also accept that they could learn how not to do that phobia. Now, also latched onto memories are decisions that we made in the past. Decisions about who we are, especially limiting decisions, which can affect our entire sporting career and also our life. Decisions may create values, beliefs, and attitudes, and even life themes, or may just affect our perceptions through time. And the problem with many decisions is that they were made either unconsciously or at a very early age and forgotten. So if you think about the first couple of episodes of Your Mind in Sport, we spoke about values, the things that are most important to you. We spoke about beliefs, so beliefs that either empower you or disempower you, and attitudes, which are collections of values and beliefs around a certain subject. Now, if we don't reevaluate our memories and decisions as we grow, our values change, and those decisions, memories that are not reevaluated, especially the limiting ones, often affect our sporting life, but also our general life in ways that we had not originally intended. And with decisions and memories, these will vary throughout the range of conscious and unconscious. So individual decisions and memories may be found to be more or less conscious than certain values, beliefs, and attitudes. And one thing that I really want to drive home right now is the major premise of NLP. And it's this: all learning, behaviour, and change is done by your unconscious mind. So if you weren't aware of this until now, your mind has two parts, the conscious and the unconscious. And a useful analogy is that of an iceberg. So the conscious mind is the little bit that sticks out of the water, the things that you can see. The unconscious mind is the huge bit hidden away underneath the surface. It's the things you can't see until they are brought to your attention. So your conscious mind is the part of your mind that analyses, criticises, and thinks logically all day long. Like I've just said, it's where you put your attention. Where your unconscious is part of your mind that controls bodily functions, from your heartbeat to your breathing. It's where all of your memories are stored, and where your wisdom, creativity, and problem-solving capabilities live. So your unconscious is also where most of your mental habits function. Whenever we learn to do something with our minds, it becomes automated, and so that we become unconsciously skilled at it. Now, if you can drive a car, just imagine going back to that time when you first learnt how to drive a car. Like everyone, you had to consciously work out where to put each foot and how to use each control. But as your driving skills developed, you handed more and more control over to your unconscious mind. So now you are so proficient that you can drive, navigate and talk to anybody who is sitting beside you all at the same time. I hope that makes sense. Now, with that in mind, let's just flick a switch and move back into the world of sport. And let's look at some of the specific memories that you have captured over the years. And now would be a really good time to think about some good memories and not so good memories, so you can get the most value of what we're about to do next. So good sporting memories will carry the label of pleasure or winning. And specific examples could be scoring a goal in football, or hitting a six in cricket, or putting on the 18th hole in golf, or achieving a great comeback when everything was going against you. And on the flip side of good memories, we've got bad memories. And some labels that you might attach could be pain or losing. And specific examples of this could be missing a penalty in football, or dropping the ball in rugby, or getting knocked down in boxing, or getting beat after being ahead in the game. But with good and bad memories, there will also be a specific point, otherwise known as a trigger, that starts to create or recreate that particular memory. But trying to just change someone's behaviour doesn't work. You have to go much deeper than that. And the use of positive language is vital in doing so. Because your mind is bombarded with millions of bits of data every second of your life, your mind is processing information all the time. It's filtering out what is relevant and what is not relevant. And it does this by considering your past experiences. So what I want to do now is just quickly give you a very high level example of something called the NLP communications model, which is something that you need to understand in order to change any specific past memory from days gone by where that specific memory doesn't actually work for you anymore. In other words, it impacts your current mindset, behavior, and result. So the NLP communications model is what all of NLP is based around, and differentiates the difference between external behavior and internal response. And here is a quick detour to how it all works. So an external event comes in to our neurology. An external event could be an experience, a situation, a person, whatever. And it comes into our neurology through our five senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. And then your mind deletes, distorts, and generalizes this information. And this is done at the unconscious level. And how it does this is through our unconscious filters of our values, beliefs, attitudes, memories, decisions, and language, which is all held within our neurology. Our attitudes we are more conscious of, but most of those filters is actually held deep at the unconscious level. So your unconscious will filter what is most relevant at that moment in time. And it's then we create what's called an internal representation containing visual, pictures, auditory, sounds, kinesthetic, feelings, olfactory, smell, and gustatory, taste. And also something called auditory digital, known as self-talk. And these are the only 6 things that we can do inside of our head, which is all controlled by your mind. And whatever is going on inside your head is then mirrored by your emotional state, such as your passion, drive, determination, and also mirrored by your physiology, such as your facial expressions, breathing patterns, gestures, eye movements, just to give you a few examples. And with those three things, your internal representation, your emotional state, your physiology, that will drive a particular behaviour. And the thing is, you only ever see your external behaviour as a result of your internal response. And with any behaviour, that will generate a particular result or outcome, as we sometimes call it in NLP. And then you have a choice whether you accept the result as being good, or you have a choice to accept the result as being not so good and then do something about it. So I really hope that the NLP communications model has kind of just opened your mind a little bit, because this explains how no two people are the same. We may see the same event, but have two different outcomes of what we saw, and hence a difference in our behaviour and results. In her book, The Secret, by Rhonda Byrne, she says that every thought of yours you are attracting, and you do this by the pictures you hold inside your head. Your life right now is a reflection of your past thoughts, and what you are thinking now is creating your future. And when you give your brain mixed messages, you're going to get mixed results. But just one more thing that I really want to bring your attention to is your unconscious mind does not process negatives very well. So if I said to you, don't think of a blue car, what do you think about straight away? A blue car. Now, it's impossible not to think about something that you're not supposed to think about without thinking about it. Make sense? I'll say that again. It's impossible not to think about something that you're not supposed to think about without thinking about it. So I'm sure you've heard the term, you get what you focus on. And if you have a particular memory or an internal representation of that memory, what do you have to do to change that internal representation that would create a good, positive internal representation so that you can absolutely dwell on it and make it as real as possible, even if it was negative in the past? So how can you flick the memory switch between recreating events from the past and start to use your active imagination for your best performance in the future? One thing that I think is absolutely relevant with learning about how to process information is something that I heard Mike Atherton say live on Sky Sports this morning whilst he was commentating on the England and Pakistan test match. And he said that when you're out of form, you need to find ways of convincing yourself that you are in great nick. And just hearing this was like music to my ears, because I knew this podcast was going to be about memories. And the words convincing yourself really did strike a chord inside of my head. And just to kind of back up what Atherton said, in the book They Did You Can by Michael Finnegan, it says the brain does not know the difference between a real and imagined experience. And that is so true. And I'm going to give you two examples so you can actually try this out. Now, for the first exercise, make sure that you are not driving or you are not occupied by some important things. And I want you to imagine holding a big juicy lemon. Just feel it in your hand. Now imagine smelling it. Now imagine placing the lemon on a worktop bench and take a knife and cut it in half. Now pick up one half and smell the cut flesh. Bring it up to your mouth really, really slowly and get ready to take a bite. Or maybe, if you want, just lick it first. Are you starting to salivate? In all honesty, I am just saying this description. Now the thing is, the lemon is imaginary, but the saliva is real. Now, just to expand on that point, in the book Sven Goran Eriksson on Football by Willie Rallo, Rallo says that it is a well-common phenomenon that our mind can dominate in determining our behaviour, whether positively or negatively. He also goes on to say that another well-known example is how we think can affect our health, especially with illness linked to the immune system. In medicine, the placebo effect has been known for many years, and the idea is that if we believe we are going to be ill, we can, in fact, be ill. And similarly, if we are ill but believe we can be well, we can get better, or even be completely cured of our illness. Now, is this a case of mind over matter? Or from an NLP perspective, you get what you focus on, so focus on what you want. Now, for the second exercise, what I want you to do is stand with your back about 10 to 15 centimeters from a wall and just close your eyes, relax, and think to yourself, I'm falling backwards, I'm falling backwards, I'm falling backwards, I'm falling backwards, I'm falling backwards. And just note how your muscles react. Although you have not given them any orders, they tense up and you begin to fight the control of your balance. And 90% of the time, you also fall backwards. Now, those two exercises were very basic and pretty much straightforward. But it shows that the power of the mind is, in many ways, simply fantastic. And that our mind governs our body. And just to echo the words of Ant Middleton from SAS Who Dares Wins, your body can withhold anything. It's your mind that you have to convince. Now, let me just move on and talk about something that is really powerful with creating behavioural change. And if you're looking for a simple technique to change how you think and feel about a specific internal representation of an event from the past, then this is for you. And I have used this NLP intervention to assist sports performers in adjusting specific internal representations from the past, such as missing a penalty in football, or dropping a catch in cricket, or changing their behaviour towards a certain golf club, or even a particular venue where they haven't performed well previously. And this intervention is just one of the NLP submodalities called like to dislike, or dislike to like, whatever which way you want to work it. And now, in all honesty, this intervention works absolutely more effectively, in my opinion, when you're working with an NLP practitioner, because the practitioner can actually guide you through the whole process and record your answers using a submodalities checklist. And another way of kind of implementing the NLP practitioner is they would help you with the speed of the intervention, because speed is absolutely key to keep the conscious mind out of the answers and really focus on unconscious responses. And the process of doing this specific exercise is where the sports performer will have a picture of the memory or an internal representation inside their mind on their mental screen, and then the NLP practitioner will start and ask them specific questions about visual, auditory and kinesthetic. And questions could be as follows. So from a visual perspective, is it black and white or colour? Is it near or far? Is it bright or dim? What's the location? What's the size of the picture? Is it associated? Can you see things through your own eyes? Or is it dissociated? You can see your body in the picture. Is it focused or defocused? Is the focus changing or is it steady? Is it framed or panoramic? Is it a movie or still? And if it's a movie, is it fast, normal or slow? And then, are there any sounds that's important? And if so, give me a name for that sound. What's the location? What's the direction? Is it internal or external? Is it loud or soft? Is it fast or slow? Is it high or low pitch? And are there any feelings that's important? And if so, give me a name for that feeling. What's the location? What's the size of that feeling? What's the shape of that feeling? What's the intensity? Is it steady? Is there any movement or duration? Is there any vibration? Is there any pressure or heat? And is there any weight attached to that feeling? And that would conclude the first column. Then the NLP practitioner would continue with the same process in the second column of the submodalities checklist, either a like or dislike. Then the NLP practitioner would do what's called contrastive analysis, which is where they would compare any major differences between the two columns. And finally, the NLP practitioner would do what's called mapping across, which means feeding back these major differences by working with the sports performer's unconscious mind again. Now, any submodalities intervention is very powerful. You're literally creating lasting change at the unconscious level of the sports performer, which impacts their internal representations and external behaviour. And if this exercise was carried out with somebody who isn't qualified, there could be one or two serious consequences on the back end of it. But can you recall the major premise of NLP? If not, let me just remind you, all learning, behaviour and change is done at the unconscious level. So what would happen if you change the internal representations of those negative events? How would that adjust your self-belief and confidence in future performances? Or what if you took 100% responsibility for your communication, only focusing on the positives in any future event? How would that stop any mind viruses within your performances going forward? Or what if you shared these podcasts with people within your sporting world? How would that improve the communication and the learning process within your team culture? And that's it for another episode of Your Mind in Sport. Thank you very much for lending me your ears. I really hope that my knowledge through the microphone has opened up your mind and that you are now sorting possible ways of implementing what you have just learned. And with any learning, it's only as good as how much action you are willing to take going forward. And I urge you to send me some feedback, please. It's very important. It allows me to improve each episode and it kind of gives me the motivation to push forward. So please send any feedback to garylavery@nowtowow.co.uk. Or if you're on LinkedIn, please look me up. It's just Gary Lavery. Send me a connection and I'll accept it. And then any feedback that you've got, please send it over by LinkedIn. So you've got two options. You decide which one is best for you. And finally, if you were looking for that sports mindset coach with experience and credibility in working with athletes and sports performers, then please do give me a call. And my number is 0191 300 0811. Let's have that chat today. And one final message from me to you. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Your Mind in Sport. Have a great week and I'll speak to you on the next podcast. Bye for now.